for it. What episode are we at, Albert?
2.
Episode 2 with Albert.
I think it's 12 or something, isn't it?
Yeah, probably something like that. So we had Matt couldn't make it with us tonight. We got Albert, and then we got a special guest, Kamon.
Kamon.
Kamon. He agreed to join us anytime Matt can't come, so you might be hearing a lot of him in the future.
Such a lazy Dutch bitch.
But now it's 3 Austrians, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
No.
So we
Yeah.
two
Two and a half.
2.5. Yeah.
So, what's going on with everybody in the shop this week?
Albert starts.
Okay. We have been working a lot because we have today there started a fair, an exhibition, the Hohe Jagd in Salzburg, which is a huge hunting fair.
That's one of the best ones for you, right?
Yeah, I don't know yet.
Is it your first time?
Yeah, it's our first time there.
Okay.
And the fees are super high. I mean, that's why it's our first time there, because we didn't want to pay the money before. But this year
Higher than other shows?
So what's
I mean, that's not a secret. Everyone can look it up. It's 200 euros per square meter.
Okay.
Square
we have
meter?
30 square meter. Yeah, we have 30 square meters, which makes for 6,000 euros.
Fuck.
Yeah.
30's big. 30's big. I got
Yeah.
20 in Solingen. And
30 is
Solingen was
big, yeah.
Solingen was for 20 square meters without tax 1,800.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Albert is bringing his power hammer, so 30 will be needed.
Only a small one. But we seriously, we thought about bringing an anvil, but all our anvils are so heavy, so we decided not to. Yeah, but it's an expensive fair for us. And I mean, if the cost is like 6,000 euros, you have to sell a lot of knives.
Yeah, that's kind of steep. How
Yeah,
do
of
they
course, and
justify those prices? Is it?
Supply and demand, I guess. That's how these people operate. I mean, there's tons of people on the waiting list. If you want to have a spot, you have to pay the price, and it's not even in the best hall. It's somewhere in the back. So in the main hall, it's even more expensive. So we are probably in the cheapest area.
Damn.
Yeah. So
I
it's
mean,
expensive.
Not only is it the costs of the spot, but you have also to calculate the costs you're missing, or the income that you're missing by not being in the shop, and all the journey and the travel and.
Yeah.
Damn.
I mean, it's in Salzburg. It's a 10 minutes drive.
Oh, okay. Okay.
To the Messezentrum, that's where it's at. But still, you're right. I mean, we lose. We're not just losing 4 days of work, but more, because you have to bring all your stuff there, which takes a day. You have to set up your whole booth and stuff, and then you have to build knives.
Did you talk to anyone up front if it pays off for them? I know Shurian is there every year, but I don't know if you have any contact to him or.
No, we haven't talked to Shurian. We've talked to the guy from Equilibrium Blades, and he told us that it's worth it for him.
Okay.
But he's in the best hall, so in the main hall. That's where his spot is.
What does he do? I don't know him. I think.
Equilibrium Blades. He does stock removal, outdoor hunting, and bushcraft knives, and maybe also kitchen knives. I don't know. Mainly made out of Sandvik 14C28N and I think Böhler N690. So mainly stainless, but he's a stock removal guy. Does very clean knives, super awesome finish, a lot of attention to detail. So awesome knives, but he has a better spot than we do. And he's in the main hall. We are somewhere in the back, which makes for a quieter day, but not as for many sales, of course. But yeah, we're gonna see how it's gonna pay out. I mean, we're happy if we break even, to be honest.
Do they release numbers on how many visitors there usually are?
I looked it up before the show.
Okay.
They have 44,455 visitors. That's what they had in 2023.
Do you know how much Solingen has? Either Keith or you?
Yeah, last year Solingen had like 3,500 visitors on 2 days. How many days is that show?
Four.
Okay,
but that's way more than
that's a lot. Yeah,
yeah,
it's a shitload of people. I mean, almost 45,000 people. I mean, Salzburg has, I think, 120,000 people who live here. So
where are all those people going?
No, it's horrible. I mean, we today we left at 8:00, and we couldn't get in. I mean, it usually takes you 10 minutes to get there. It took us almost an hour because there was so many cars. Already at 8:00, and that was just the people, only the exhibitors. So not
that was just to set up. You guys went it
just to set up. Yeah, I mean, it opened at 9, and we were there at 8:15. So it was only exhibitors.
You know what I'd be curious about now? How it compares to the different blade shows.
Yeah, the blade shows are way bigger.
Sure, I don't know. I mean, like also Texas, also like the smaller ones, because
we can ask.
I wonder now.
Uber.
Yeah, does he know?
Well, he's there right now.
I know he's there, but he doesn't count the visitors. I hope. I hope he's selling knives.
Yeah, we'll see. Definitely not as big as Atlanta, but that's still 44,000 visitors. That's a lot. And I think in Salzburg is a really big tourist area, and a lot of people come to Salzburg for handwork and things that are handmade. And I think, hopefully you guys do good.
And the fair, the Hohe Jagd, is pretty popular. I mean, people come from all over the place. I mean, because Salzburg is located pretty central in Europe, so there's tons of people from Germany, from the Czech Republic, from Italy, from all around Austria.
Is it one of the bigger shows in Europe, or is the hunting space?
I think it's the second biggest one in Europe.
Okay.
Or on the continent.
Yeah.
Because the Jagd und Hund in Dortmund or Düsseldorf is bigger, but I think it's the second largest one in Europe, as far as I know. I mean,
very interesting. Okay.
Yeah, but we only made, I think, 5 hunting knives. The rest is all kitchen knives.
I mean, it's risky, but when people are into handcrafted goods, I would think, and every one of those hunters probably cook, I guess, or no,
mm-hmm.
or more, oftentimes, I guess. I don't know actually.
Yeah, that was our reasoning behind this. We thought everyone's gonna have hunting knives there.
Yeah,
we're gonna go for kitchen knives
and stand out.
And stand out a bit, yeah. And we only made Damascus blades, so we.
Ooh. Are you bringing that new Damascus pattern?
Yes.
Yes.
What's the new one? Can you describe it? I don't know if I've seen it.
We had a special die made so that we can have like big roses on the Damascus, like you know the small raindrop pattern, but with very large raindrops with 50 millimeters in diameter. So we had a special die made, and we did our first blades with this Damascus pattern. Nice. And of course, I built an Akiri because there's so much surface area.
It shows up the pattern really well. Yeah, if you can imagine like a water drop in a pond, and then wait like 10 seconds, and as the water drop like disperses and gets bigger and bigger, that's kind of what the pattern looks like. It's like a really big set of rings.
Nice. Did you release it already on your social media or?
No. I mean, I finished it yesterday night.
Okay.
So I finished all the knives yesterday.
You're perfect in time.
Yeah, but it was a close call. Yeah, but that's why the last week was pretty exhausting. And we've been grinding, hand sanding, finishing handles, etching like crazy. I mean, we've been etching for 2 days straight, all the Damascus plates.
Yikes.
Yeah, but it was. I mean, at the end, it's fun if it works out.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's a big relief if you can manage to finish all the knives you've planned for the show. Because I already made a plan B. What knives I'm not gonna finish and what knives I really want to finish. But at the end, we were finished. We were able to finish all of it.
Okay.
So it turned out well for us, but of course, I mean, it was long nights, not much sleep. Then you have to get up at 6:30 in the morning to drive to the show.
Yeah, Albert's full time now. You got to do that kind of stuff when you're full time.
I know.
You got to put those hours in.
Have you not been before full time?
No, I started full time this year because I quit my job at the university at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
And now I'm full time.
I
think I've been almost full time, but yeah.
Yeah, I think seeing your shop, I just always assumed you were full time.
Yeah, most people did.
It's crazy.
Yeah, either full time or crazy. That's the two options.
Now you're both.
Now we're both. Yeah, now I'm both. That's right.
So I have to ask, did you etch that new pattern in Gator Piss, or what have you been etching in?
Yeah, I did 3 cycles in Ferric and 1 cycle in Gator Piss.
And how has it been working out for you, the Gator Piss? Are you happy with it, or it's not as good as...
not as good as promised, to be honest.
Okay, yeah.
I've been watching the Baker Fortune tool video over and over again because there's a video on YouTube where they show how it's supposed
process.
to be. Process, how the process is supposed to be done with Gator Piss. And this process they describe there simply doesn't work for us at all. I mean, what they do is finish, I think, is 600 or 1,200 grit finish, and then they put it in. They degrease it, of course, and then they put it into Gator Piss for 20 minutes, and it comes out with a perfect contrast, shiny.
I think 20 minutes is unrealistic.
And that simply does not work. I mean, literally, not at all. I mean, if you put it in there for 20 minutes, it doesn't do anything. So I leave the blades in there for an hour, maybe even 2, for it to have any effect on the blade. So... we were wondering maybe the European recipe for Gator Piss is different.
Doesn't have any Gator Piss in it?
Because there's no gators in Europe. Maybe that's what's missing, the secret ingredient.
I think
maybe it's just Matt pissing in a container.
Or that.
Yeah, I've kind of had the same results. 600 is definitely not enough. Like, I've been going up through the grits to like 1,200, 1,500, like really, really polishing it, and then still doing a couple of cycles in normal ferric, and then buff everything out so there's no more black in it, and like 2-3 20-minute cycles in Gator Piss to get good results, but they're still not. They don't look like they do on Instagram when you watch the Baker Forge videos.
Exactly.
Did you try to reach out to JB Blades? Do you know him? He makes those carved blades, but his finishes always, I think Baker Forge advertises with his blades.
Right,
mainly.
yeah.
Maybe he has a trick, 1 or 2 tricks up his sleeve, but I don't know if he would share them. I don't know. But I'm just asking, did you maybe reach out or ask him about it?
No, I haven't. No, but Baker Forge, when they make a new pattern, he's always the one who tests the pattern out and makes
exactly.
Yeah.
And his finishes, I mean, they look pretty nice, I would say.
Right, yeah, they do. Yeah.
But it's kind of sad because we were all so hyped about the Gator Piss and we thought that we can get rid of the whole coffee edge or orange juice stuff. But yeah, it simply doesn't work for us.
I mean, I'm having 2 collaboration Damascus knives on my bench right now, one from Hangler and one from Anchorage Forge, and I bought a gator piss container from Keith, hopefully. I hope I bought it from Keith. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you did.
And I will try it out, and if it's bad, I will never talk about it again. And if it's good, I will advertise for it.
Yeah, but let us know.
No, definitely. Yeah. I mean, my etching process, since I'm doing so little Damascus, and I'm always going for a relief edge, for a deeper edge. I'm always starting with the what's Salzsäure in English? Hydrochloric acid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that I do right after hardening, but before I grind the bevels. So in that, only the forging scale part of the blade, the upper part, is deep edged, and the primary bevel isn't as deep edged, because if you edge that one too deep, then setting an edge onto the blade is difficult. It's like a bread knife almost, like microscopically viewed. Yeah, so I'm always. What I was going to say is I'm always changing the how I edge things. It's always on the fly. I look at it, maybe polish it up again on the disc grinder, with some Scotch-Brite, and then trying again. But it's always on the fly. But I bought some gator piss because I was thinking maybe it will help me for the contrast edge at the end.
That's what we use it for.
Yeah.
We do all the deep edge with ferric, and we do the contrast edge with gator piss. But we leave it in there for 1-2 hours at least.
Okay. Yeah, I will see what happens. Very curious.
I've had kind of the same results with coffee. I gave up on coffee. I don't know why. I mean, I don't make as many knives as you guys do, for sure, but it's always like a hit or miss, or you get different color variations in it, and I thought gator piss would take care of that problem.
Coffee was too difficult for me as well. Even if the times it looked perfect, then sometimes the edge wasn't stable. So, and it was always almost like poker. It was always miss or hit, but just by chance.
It's a lottery.
Yeah. And then, but when you're etching overnight, you can't afford to play around. If it's only in the acid for 1 hour, then I don't care. I just redo the finish and then try again. But if it's overnight and maybe I have a tight timeline, then I can't mess around with a coffee edge.
But I do notice that's one of the things. I do notice that the black part of the etch after gator piss, if you do it like they say in the step where you just spray it down with an oil and let it sit overnight, that really does hold a lot longer than a coffee etch does, or an orange juice etch, for sure. It's definitely more robust.
Yeah, I've heard that the coffee etch stabilizes as well if you let it sit. But yeah, I don't know.
No, it does. Yeah. I coffee etched a monosteel blade made out of 01 tool steel once, and it was blacked out and super stable. But I left it in the coffee, I think, for a day or two.
Yeah, room temperature.
And then I took it out every now and then and used steel wool to get rid of the surface oxides and put it back in. And it was blacked out. It almost looked like a coating. It looked like a coating. It was super stable, so it didn't rub off. But it takes a lot of time. And if you finish or etch your knives one day before a show, you don't have
Yeah.
Was it a kitchen knife or EDC?
It was a kitchen knife, yeah. It was a kitchen knife.
What's your opinion about the stickiness of the finish?
It is. That's what I told the customer.
Yeah.
I said the customer, you increase surface area because of the edge, and you won't have a food release that's as good as with a satin finished knife.
Yeah,
but he insisted. He wanted to have a black knife. I said, okay, then I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if he insists and knows what he's getting, then it's okay.
Yeah.
But I always, when I make a blacked out blade, it's more like gray, because I think a very minor edge doesn't do much damage to the food release. As long as the primary bevel still reflects light, like looks shiny, then it works. But if you let it sit in there, so it's almost black, it doesn't reflect light as much. It looks really matte, and that's where it just catches food like
it does,
like a magnet.
Yeah, I mean, food release is horrible with this knife, but he insisted, and I mean, I warned him many times.
Yeah, I mean,
but he still insisted, and then I said, okay, I'm gonna do it. I mean, for me it's fun. I mean, to make a blacked out knife
definitely looks cool.
Yeah, it looks cool. So I have
murdered out.
Yeah, I have Instagram content, and he has a knife, and he has to deal with the food release problem because I warned him plenty of times. So
yeah.
But you're right. I think you should warn your customer that it's not all about aesthetics. And if you want to have a black out knife done with a coffee edge, then he or she's gonna deal with has to deal with the food release issue.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that. As long as the customer knows and he still insists, and it's not totally outside of my comfort zone, then yeah, you can have it. Take it.
Yeah.
So what is the best finish for food release? In your opinion?
I mean, the reality is, in my opinion, or I shouldn't start with the realities, in my opinion, in one sentence. So my reality is, I think it's food dependent. So, and that's true for the grind as well as your cutting technique and the finish, all at the same time. I think if you mirror polish a blade and have a watery produce like cucumber, it can slide off that mirror polish because there is the water layer and it just slides like ice skates. Whereas some not as watery produce might stick to it like crazy. If you have a coarse grit, I've read in the forums, I've never tried this myself, but I can imagine coarse grit in the range of 120 grit makes almost for some similar effect as an S-grind. It creates air pockets, so that will have a better food release with some foods, but then the cucumber, for example, might stick like crazy on that finish. So regarding finish, in my opinion, it's just it's just a matter of taste, because some food will always stick to it no matter what you do, in my opinion, regarding the finish at least. If you don't mess it up with something that just sticks, like blacked out, or No, that wasn't meant as an insult. You know it as well, but I'm just saying.
Exactly what you mean.
Yeah. Albert?
Yeah, I think it depends is the right answer. I'm a fan of satin finishes on monosteel blades. It might also depend on the way the scratches go, right? I mean, if you have horizontal or vertical scratches. But if your blade is mirror polished, I'd expect something like, what's it called? The phenomenon, is it called adhesion? If you have two very flat surfaces that stick to each other, I'd be worried about that on a mirror finished blade. I mean, I don't do mirrored finished blades because I don't like them for aesthetic reasons.
Yeah.
But I'd be afraid or worried about this adhesion phenomenon. But this also might happen only with a certain kind of food or vegetable.
I think some foods definitely, but with the cucumber, similar as I have a straight razor from Conrad, and his polish is just top notch. But when you have water running across the blade, it's almost like surface coated. The water just doesn't stick to it, or not a lot, because of the polish. And then it makes sense in that sense that the cucumber, which is super watery, slides off like the water itself. To me,
I know
it makes
exactly
sense.
what I mean, but I'm not sure if the comparison holds up, because a cucumber slice might create something like a vacuum underneath it, which a water drop might not be able to do because you can't put pressure on it.
Yeah, it will depend on the geometry as well. If you have
sure.
convex or flat or whatever, that surely still depends on it.
Okay, but if you have two flat grinds, one mirror polished and one with a satin finish or a belt finish, I mean, of course, you have to compare the same geometry.
Same geometry, but it's always different and difficult. Even if the blade is wet from produce to fore, it makes a difference. So it's the food release issue is difficult. Yeah. I think the most difference makes the geometry, special grinds, S grinds. I think that can make a difference, but with finishes, I never bothered. But I recently talked to someone about surface coating a kitchen knife, and he had the idea of the surface itself producing the food release versus the geometry. But I don't think I'm a fan, because if you ever have to thin the kitchen knife, which will happen throughout its life, then it's a problem. Then the finish is gone, and then
But what kind of surface coating would he do in a blade?
Yeah, just the idea was something like what you would coat your raincoat in, but of course, similar, in the idea, but of course something that is food safe and
cleaner. Yeah. So like a DLC coating or a Cerakote, but I think Cerakote's probably not food safe. I mean, I've read different opinions on that, but I'm not sure. But DLC would be food safe. But I don't think that would change how the food sticks to it. It's still almost like a glass coating. It would be the same as a mirror polish, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know. I only know this DLC from folding knives or auto knives. I don't know if there is any. Yeah.
If it was a thing, then people would have been doing it already, I think, right?
Yeah, I would think so.
I'm sure somebody's tried it.
For sure. I mean, some industrial knives come like that. If they are black, it must be something like DLC or something like that.
Yeah, my wife has a couple of knives from Fisker. They're kind of cheap knives, but they have like a black coating on it also, and they work well until the coating starts to wear off, and then everything sticks to it.
Yeah, I mean, better than some Japanese knife makers just painting their blades black to simulate forging scale.
But I've always been skeptical about these coatings on knives. To be honest, especially on kitchen knives, I don't see the point. Seriously, why would you coat the blade? Especially, I mean, if it will rub off sooner or later, and the stuff is gonna go into your food, and you most likely don't know what it is. So why would you? I mean, I understand it why people would do a coating on a tactical knife where there must not be any reflections if you're out in the field as a soldier somewhere in enemy territory or whatever. But with a kitchen knife, I don't see the point, to be honest.
No. Yeah.
If you want to have a black knife, do a coffee edge, or if you want to have a Damascus blade, do a proper edge so that you get a high contrast. But I don't understand why you would Cerakote or even DLC coat a kitchen knife. Unless you want to protect it against rust, but I don't really see the point in that either.
No, I think when you see the coatings on a cheap knife, it's one, a sales gimmick, or to hide the machining marks. Ooh. So they don't have to do a high finish.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, to hide the machining marks. Yeah,
or the press marks or whatever
the milling, the knives. Scratch and stuff. Yeah,
smart. Next week, Kamon's already doing coding on his Pakistani blades.
But hiding something is not a good enough reason for me. I mean, that's
yeah.
a lame excuse not to have to do the proper finish.
You're making handmade knives, you're not pressing them out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
You think that?
Well, I think so. I mean, I've seen it live, unless he's doing other things when I leave. I don't know.
Yeah, look, but funny story. Today there was a guy at our table at the fair, and he took a look at our. We've built 2 mosaic Damascus plates, and he took a look at our plates, and he said, "Ah, nice. That's laser. That's a laser.
Laser
finish, right?" And he said, "What?" And he said, "That's lasered on there, right? The pattern." I said, "No. We have like 5 power hammers, and we don't have a laser." So
did he accept your explanation at least?
No. I mean, of course he did. He was some random dude. I mean, he told us that he's a big knife designer for that and that company, and whatever. I mean, you probably don't know because you don't do any shows, right?
I don't.
But most people who do shows know that there's always random dudes showing up and talking about knives, although they don't know anything about it.
Yep.
I mean,
But if he's a knife designer, even though he works probably for the industry, then I would think he's at least aware of the concept of pattern welded steel. Or, I mean,
he should be.
He should be.
Yeah. I'm thinking. I mean, maybe your pattern just looks that perfect that he thought, okay, that's too symmetrical and too high contrast. That must be the laser.
Yeah, might be, but still, I mean, we are called Salzburger Messerschmiede and not Salzburger Laser.
Yeah, that doesn't tell anything. A company next to me in my industrial area is called Ideenschmiede, like Idea Forge, Idea Smith. Schmiede or Smith is just the trendiest word outside of actual platesmiths, I have the feeling, or blacksmiths. It's
steampunk.
Yeah. It's everywhere. Everyone misuses it, I feel like.
Yeah, because it's a cool word. I mean, maybe deep down everyone wants to be a smith, right?
Of course. Fire, sparks, steel.
Yeah, and Ideenschmiede is a very, I mean, it's an awesome name for.
Yeah, but that could be for anything. It could be somebody who writes books or something.
Yeah,
but maybe for a PR company or something.
It's an insult to me because I'm a genuine Ideenschmiede, forging knives.
But what does this company do? What's the Ideenschmiede working on?
I think they are actually a program for the the IMS. How do you translate it?
Mm-hmm.
Like the.
Yeah, for unemployed people.
Unemployed people, giving them some kind of employment or some tasks.
Okay.
So, in my opinion, but I didn't look into it, they don't really have to do anything with ideas, actually, or forging. But yeah, no, I don't care that much. But it's just a fact that everyone uses forge in their name, even if they are not related, at least in the German language. Schmiede.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So that was a long introduction to Albert's week. Yeah, what's Ben doing this week?
I was visited today by Bertrand Gatignon or Gatignol. He's a relatively famous in his niche comic book artist, but it's not like DC or Marvel comics, but really hardcover books. I had a collaboration with him before. I got to know him because he was a customer at first, and then I had a collaboration with him. And he had a small vacation in Vienna and visited me in my shop, and then I took him out for lunch. And super interesting guy, super interesting conversation and all. And I was very happy for him to visit me. It was a fun day. Took the day off essentially.
Is he the guy who designed your shirts? Your new shirts?
No, because he would have done better. That was just me.
That was you.
No. But I don't know if people remember, but he had within his comics he had a character hold a kitchen knife, and then he talked to me if it was cool for me if he used one of my knives as a drawing, and then we developed the idea of me making the actual knife he drew and selling it all together, and that sold through Eating Tools about 2 years ago. But it was a super nice collaboration because his comics at the time had the color scheme of black, white, and gold, and I made a knife with a nashi, a polished finish, so silver, white, essentially blade, a black bog oak and black end caps handle with brass or bronze spaces. So there was the gold, and so it from a color scheme perspective, it all fit together, and it was just. I think it's cool if you're the customer, if you have the knife that is pictured in the comics, and the copies were signed by him and all that, and
nice collector's piece with a little story behind it. That's cool. I haven't seen that before. I'll have to check it out.
It was a cool project, and he's a very interesting guy. He lives in Paris. We were talking a lot about like inner city stuff and how his living situation is, how he works. He approaches his art. It's art, but he's very methodical. It's crazy. He does batch work with comics. So he has the story layout, he finishes that, then he makes all the sketches with pencil and finishes the whole book in sketches and so on. So he almost works in batches. And we discovered a lot of similarities in our work because I'm working in batches. And he also said he oftentimes talks to other artists like him, comic book artists, and they sometimes struggle but still don't want to take his advice how to improve their efficiency. But it was very interesting, very very nice insights.
So you saw some similarities in like his process and like how he looks into the future for his comics and how you are making your knives. And
I mean the batch work, that's a big similarity. I mean we only came to talk about that even because he asked me about my process, and I described to him that every step I do, like forging is one step, and I do it for every of the 20 blades in one batch, and then the end caps drilling, I do that for all the handles, and so on and so on. And he then interrupted and said he essentially does the same for his comics, which I would have never guessed, because I would have thought they are growing more organically, and maybe some ideas evolve later on and he slips them into the storyline or something like that. But he said no, he develops the whole story up front and then the pencil sketches. Then it's interesting, he draws manually, so he has the pencil sketches. He then edits them digitally, but then draws the outlines of the drawing with a fine liner manually by hand, and then he scans that, and the colorization then happens digitally again. So he told me he could work just on the computer as well, but he said he would go mad, and he enjoys the manual labor of this thing, the craft essentially. He enjoys it very much, and I can totally see that. I can associate with that.
Yeah, I bet you can tell the difference from somebody who just like develops it on the computer or with the hand. It's
and
more organic, like you say.
Yeah, not only that, he had an explanation, a rationale behind that as well, because he said when you're drawing only on the computer, there is no pressure on you because you can always edit it however you want. And he said if you have the pressure on in your back, with a fine liner, with a touche, a permanent fine liner, drawing like that, you are just more concentrating more. You're more into your task that you're doing, because there is a lot of pressure of messing up. And he says that's just the reality of a craft. He says my knives are similar because if I fuck up the quench, the blade is just done. If I crack the blade. And he says if you draw digitally, there is no pressure. You can always edit and you lose yourself in the process. And you don't put as much effort in it. He says that's his rationale behind it. So he has a rational reason for it as well. I like that.
It's cool. And what was his name again? What?
Bertrand Gattignol, or Bertrand Gattignol. It's a little difficult, but he's on Instagram. He's active on Instagram. He has some videos where he draws, and you can see him drawing with the fine liner, and a pretty finished picture already, but still drawing in the picture, making no mistakes. I mean, you can't make any mistakes with the fine liner. And he sells art drawings as well, separate from his comics. So he has his drawings in galleries in Paris and sells them as they are, all made by hand, all colorized by hand as well. So yeah, he's a pretty amazing dude.
You'll have to send me his name, and I'll put it in the show notes so other people can check it out. I want to see too.
Definitely, I'll send you a link.
I don't speak French as good as you.
Oh, oui.
Chez d'argent.
Oui. Chez d'argent.
Is he the one who did a painting of you in front of the anvil?
No, that was Massive Face. Massive Face is his Instagram.
But that was also like a comic book drawing, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That's quite a different style, but that was recently. Yeah. That was within the collaboration I'm having with Anchorage Forge, because Anchorage Forge and Anchorage Brewing, he lets his beer labels, he lets the designs be made by the Massive Face guy. And he's quite big on Instagram. The dude has 230k followers on Instagram, so I was
nice. What was his name again?
Massive Face, like massive.
Okay.
Face. Yeah. I could.
Yeah. Can you tell us any more about that collaboration? I heard there's going to be a Kamon beer made.
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, Gabe Fletcher from Anchorage Brewing will brew a IPA for me, I mean, in part of the collaboration, and he will make a knife also from the same material he sent me, and I'm making a knife, and then we'll make the beer and the knives and the release and everything all at the same time. We'll release it through Eating Tools, so quite a lot of pressure to not mess it up.
And that zombie drawing picture of you at the anvil, or standing in the field, I mean, that's going to be the label, maybe?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think, yeah. He did similar with Steve Schwarzer and Jason Knight and Mareko Mamasi, so I think they all were on the beer label, so I'm quite amused and happy that my skull face will be on a beer. I wouldn't have imagined that a few years ago, so
interesting. So everybody can get a little taste of Kamon.
I mean, don't get me started.
Did you decide that it's gonna be an IPA, or did he or they decide?
No, he asked me about my taste, and recently I love drinking the Stiegl Columbus and generally IPAs a lot, because for me they are the Radler, which is not sweet. So the Radler is an Austrian mix of beer and some orange juice or whatever, some sweet.
A soft drink.
Yeah, soft drink. Mm-hmm. But I don't like it because it's way too sweet. But an IPA to me still has a lot of sour and bitter, but none of the sweetness. And I like it because it's just fresh and tickling my my taste buds, so I liked that a lot recently.
IPAs are awesome.
And he asked me.
Radler is gross. Radlers are disgusting. They should be illegal. But IPA, I think an IPA has like just like a hint of fruitiness to it.
Yeah, fruitiness and acidic taste. I love it recently. He sent me some beers of his as well. I mean, I looked it up. They are crazy expensive. I would never have asked for that, but I've never tasted that in a beer. Amazing beers, and you can tell the guy is passionate about his beer.
So this is
But
like
do
a small.
these guys also draw? Okay, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. Do these guys also draw like proper graphic novels and comic books, or is it just like this one-off or one-shot paintings?
Yeah, Massive Face, I think, only does art or one-off paintings, but Bertrand, the French guy, makes comic books, art. Yeah, I think he does some contract work as well, but I didn't ask if for companies, or he just mentioned that or maybe he did back in the day. But Bertrand does comics, and the other guy from Anchorage Forge, I think those are one-offs.
Oh, that's a shame because they're so amazing.
Yeah, he has a very dark style. It's
very dark. It's like Frank Miller style. I mean, I love it. It's super awesome. Cool.
It's very nice.
Do you know when these will be available?
It should be. I don't know the timeline, but probably end of March. Yeah, something like that.
And where can we buy them?
On Eating Tools. No, the knife you can buy on Eating Tools, but his spears, I think they're only available in the US, sadly. I've looked back when he first got in touch with me, because it's quite contradicting. He's a good customer of mine as well, so it's a little difficult relationship for me, because I mean, you guys know probably, having someone who is friendly to you but at the same time be a customer is sometimes I mean, I don't like that relationship. It's
not sometimes, it's always hard.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, then we're on the same page. And so it's kind of conflicting, or I don't know the correct word, but it's difficult in that sense. He is not difficult, but I'm difficult.
No, the situation is difficult.
Okay, let's put it that way.
Yeah. So I'll be back in the U.S. in July. I'll bring some home. Albert, I'll bring you one of Ben's beers.
Good.
Definitely get the IPA. It's really delicious. It's he sent me a Belgian sour as well. I never had that before. That's very sour, as the name says, but you really have to know what you're getting into up front, because otherwise you will, if you're expecting a beer or an IPA, you will be surprised. I still liked it, and I think I could, get used to it. But if you're not expecting it, then it can be surprising, overwhelming.
It's the kind of beer where you drink like just one or two, relaxing, and it's not something you go out drinking.
Yeah, but
with your buddies.
Yeah, similar to Guinness. I wouldn't get drunk on Guinness either. It's I'll have one or two, but not tasting similar, but a strong taste, just like that.
Yeah.
And in that it's similar to Guinness. I mean, at least I have never gotten drunk on Guinness. I don't know about you guys.
That's like my least favorite beer, Guinness. It's a very very thick and earthy flavor, I think. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean. Yeah, it's like black coffee. I enjoy it.
You can put like a €2 coin on top of it and it floats.
Yeah, that's true. Then start eating it. Don't drink it, eat it.
Yeah, I mean it is. I mean it's a meal.
Yeah.
Ask for a spoon and dig in, but it's also probably not a good idea with beer.
So Ben, we've been seeing, or at least I've been seeing a little bit of the knife you've been making for the charity project.
Yeah.
Are you making a monolith?
No. What?
No.
It has a tang.
No, I didn't notice the tang. I thought for a minute. I've been seeing so many different knife makers that have been sending me pictures that we haven't put out yet. We're kind of going to introduce everybody first, and then I keep seeing, every time I see a knife from you, I'm like, is that the one he's making? Like when I see it on Instagram, you show just a corner or the tip or the heel. I'm like, that could be it. That might be the heel of the knife here. And then for some reason, I just thought you were making a monolith.
No. Even in this in this batch are no monoliths at all. But I didn't even think about doing one, because I was thinking, a handle was required or expected.
Okay.
No, but now that you say it, I'm kind of regretting that it's not a monolith. It would have been cool.
You still got time.
Yeah. Right. I've got time.
Have you started already?
Yeah. It's already hardened. It's already heat treated, so it will for sure survive. I've never failed a knife once it was heat treated, and heat treat goes wrong rarely as well, as long as it's monosteel. I've only had problems in heat treat when it was soft clad Sanmai, but other than that, so that one is safe. I was a little worried. I thought maybe that's the 1 in 1,000 that cracks as a monosteel blade just because, but I've got it through, and it will be Apex Ultra, by the way. So
okay.
So the best carbon steel on Earth. You've heard of that one?
No, Apex Ultra. What's that? Tell us about.
Yeah, it's a steel developed by partly by a 3-headed team of how do I say it? It's 2 professional metallurgists and 1 professional knife maker, and it's simply the best carbon steel on this planet. I mean, there's nothing else to say about it, I guess. Do you sell it?
I do, yeah. Shameless plug. No, it seems to be, at least here in Europe, it's like the thing to do right now. Everybody's using it as in Sanmais and as a core material.
Not only that, I mean, I have, and that's not a plug, I have a lot of American knife makers I'm friendly with writing me where to get it, because they seem to have problems getting it in the US or overseas, so I think it's quite in demand. I have the feeling.
Yeah, well, I have a few people.
Who's selling it in the US? Do you know that?
Huh?
Who is selling Apex in the US?
No,
I don't know out of the top of my head.
There are shops, right?
Yeah, I don't know about this batch. The last batch, at least, Pop's Knife Supply in the US was selling it. I don't know if they still are. There's quite a few, but they get it in limited amounts, and because of the shipping charges, it's kind of expensive.
Yeah.
So the last 2 years when I've been going home, I get people from the US that write me often if I'll sell, because I only sell in the EU, and I get some orders together and take stuff home with me in July and ship it out. Last time I sent some to Mariko and to Jeff Vader, and
nice.
But I haven't seen either of them make anything with it yet. So
no, I think it seems to be hard to get over there. But I'm thinking. I mean, I don't quite understand why there isn't a bigger retailer getting a big
just
amount.
Bigger numbers.
Yeah, bigger numbers. Yeah. So the shipping costs just like normalize or spread throughout the
right
order.
Yeah.
Why don't you sell outside of the EU? Just too much trouble with invoice and all that?
Yeah, just at the time, right now at this point, with shipping and selling outside of the US with the imports and all that kind of stuff, import taxes, I just don't have the time to put into the website right now to get that figured out. But I will soon. I'm working on it. That's the plan.
Yeah, I could imagine a lot of makers buying small amounts, but I mean, if many makers buy that, that's still good business for you.
Yeah. Now Tobias is working on it. He's gonna get that stuff over there to the US. He's got it actually around all of the Europe and the UK, and I've heard some people in Japan working with it, and a little bit here and there, all over the place. So I guess once it picks up a little more, maybe he'll.
I mean, I'm thinking, get the steel to Montana Knife Company, let them make a batch, and then let the UFC and Joe Rogan promote Apex Ultra. And I mean, Baker Forge just did a batch with it, so I was expecting it to take off right after that. We'll see. Yeah, 100%. I mean, that will have an influence. They're very good at
for sure. Yeah.
With their
marketing is great. Yeah.
But that's what I wanted to ask. Is there any plans, or do you guys know if there's any plans to have it produced over there in the US? Apex Ultra?
That's difficult. for quality control, I guess. I mean, we've seen that in some other steels that we talked about before we started recording. So,
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
I think, but as far as I know, I'm not sure, but I think Tobias was actually present with every batch they produced, and it's.
yeah.
I think it's produced in Germany. I'm not entirely sure, but the thing is, if he was to, or if they were to produce it in the US, I think it's what Keith says. The quality control would be an issue, would be difficult or impossible to do.
Yeah, you just have to have one over there who does it. I mean, someone you
Yeah,
trust,
somebody you
someone who's
trust. And
capable.
at some point, if you want to upscale it, it's something that you're gonna have to do. But like you said, you got to find somebody that you can trust.
Yeah, but trust. I mean, even where Tobias was present in the steel mill, some problems occurred, and he wasn't able to change them. But if he wouldn't have seen it himself, I think. I mean, that screams for trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible that comes out on the market, and then you hear about it afterwards, and there's nothing you can really do about it once it's released. So he's definitely super highly involved in making sure that the steel is high quality.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, the issues he had, you wouldn't be able to hide. They just lost parts of the steel, and yeah, it was an issue. But I think they resolved it, and Tobias is on the ball, so he's very involved.
I mean, you've been to his shop, you've seen that huge chunk of steel that he's got that he paid like I don't know how many thousands of euros for. It looks like a yeah.
If it wasn't that heavy, it would be mine now.
Yeah, I told him he should make an anvil out of it.
Oh, that would be. I mean, Apex Ultra anvil. Imagine the wear on all your hammers. They're gone in like in a year. They're all gone.
Yeah, then you need carbide hammers. Then.
Don't get me started on those.
What? Let's talk about them. Do you have one?
No. I full disclosure, I don't have one. But every time I tried to do that with a self-made one, I always broke the blade. But possibly I'm an idiot because I'm not able to do many things other knife makers do. So maybe I'm the issue. But I can't work with them.
I'm so glad you're saying that, Ben, because we got so much shit for us saying that we broke blades with the carbide hammer on this podcast.
Yeah, no, I'm getting shit as well. I'm seeing it coming.
Thank you.
No, for me it's shim temper, and it's that just works all the way. But regarding shim temper, I think a lot of knife makers don't take enough care of the blades. I had a long conversation with Hangler about that, with the temperature cycles in the tempering oven and with the radiation heat. It's actually quite dangerous or quite probable to overheat your blade in parts. So especially if you temper in your even heat or similar high temperature kilns, that's kind of tricky. I'm not a fan of that, and I see a lot of knife makers do that. That's tricky. I would overthink that.
Okay, because there's in some areas there's more heat than in others because of the wire that runs.
Yeah, so for one there is in those heat treatment kilns there is no convection. So the only convection that happens is from warm air going up and kind of natural convection. But what the real problem is, and I never thought of that. That's Hangler's concept, but it makes perfect sense. Radiation heat. So when those ovens heat up, the coils get rather hot because they just heat up, and until the heat reaches the sensor, they switch off. But the heat coils might already have. I'm just saying any number now because I didn't research it, but might have 400 or 500 degrees already. But the chamber and the air surrounding it has only 160 degrees Celsius. And so what can happen is that the radiation heat heats up the blade to a higher temperature than the air has, because air doesn't
warm up that quickly.
Exactly. It's a bad heat conductor, and steel is a good heat conductor. So what I did is, and Hangler has a similar oven, we put a PID control into a gastronomy, into a restaurant oven, the big ones. And what is special about them is they have the heat coils in the back, not in the oven chamber, and a ventilator, and it only blows the hot air into the chamber up front. And so with a PID control, my oven is straight on 165 degrees Celsius, never any degree off or up. So I'm making sure within the shim temper, with tempering, time is basically almost irrelevant. Temperature is what is relevant. And so if you have a classical oven, the oven will go from 150 to 180 and always cycle up and down, and pretty a lot.
They have like 20-degree differences.
A lot. 20 is good. Yeah. There are ovens that cycle way more. And then it's just an uncontrolled environment. And 180 degrees, I mean, look up in the sheets, you're going from 65 HRC to 63 very quickly. So, I see all the knife makers doing that, and I'm just putting it out there. I would overthink that if you're looking for quality, that's not a good mode to operate on. It's.
So you have a normal, like a, I don't know, like a normal, like oven like you would see at an industrial restaurant, like exactly. A big oven, huge. How big's the chamber? Approximately like a half a meter square or something. Or?
It's 80 centimeters wide, I think, and 50 high or something. It's a big oven. I bought it cheap because it was used. The restaurant couldn't use it anymore. It was dirty, and I didn't bother. It was cheap. Hangler actually bought a new one, but I think new one they cost 300 or 500 euros. It's not crazy money. It's definitely worth it. Because
and the only change that you made was to put a PID control. You didn't add any kind of insulating material or anything to it?
No, nothing. Only the PID control. So what they often naturally will do, my father was an electrician and we talked about it. So the relays inside the oven, they are used to switching only every minute or so. You know, with those cycles, it's just switching on and off every minute. Now the oven switches every 10 seconds probably. Way quicker, so the relay will wear, and at some point I'm sure I have to exchange the relay because it's not made for that. At least he said probably that will be the case, but other than that I didn't change anything. Just the PID, and it just switches in a quicker cycle and just holds the temperature way more precise.
Yeah, so the other relay is called the SSR relay, and it's made specifically to cycle.
I don't know, like
10-15 times in a minute, right? Yeah, I mean you can hear it clicking off and on for sure, but it's a little bit more robust, and it's made for frequent cycling.
Yeah, I mean once the old one goes, I have another one in the oven that is not used. I think they just put it in there for for exchange because they expect it at some point to go. Maybe, I don't know, but it's in the oven. But once that goes, so the second one, I will exchange it with what you said.
I mean you can get them for like 10-15 euros. They're not expensive at all. But if the one you have right now works, then why fix something that's not broke?
Exactly. And I have the redundancy still with the other relay, so I'm good.
But that's a good point with the radiation heat. I've never thought about
all credits to Hangler. We nerded off. He is the knowledge. I just repeated. I'm the parrot.
But what I found out is that at low temperatures, these heat treatment ovens are not as precise because they tend to overshoot. I mean, I think that's what you meant. They heat up to 180 degrees pretty quickly, although you set your program to 150, so they overshoot sometimes. And if they overshoot, the blade might also be already at 180
Exactly.
degrees.
Their cycles are catastrophically. Then there is no convection at all. At least with those little or normal kitchen ovens, you have some convection at least. But still, there is the issue of the heating coil being directly in front of the knife, and radiation heat still is a problem with those. But as far as I think, heat treatment of ovens are off limits for tempering, in my opinion. But
I agree, but for different reasons. I never use them because they tend to overshoot, and they're super inaccurate with low temperatures. But I never thought about this radiation heat stuff. That's good.
I have to know. I have 2 heat treating ovens, and I have one for heat treating and one only for tempering. And when the PID controller, like you said, it's made for a certain temperature range.
Yeah.
There's definitely a big difference when you have the PID controller and you do. It has like a self-learning cycle where it figures out how often it has to turn off and on in order to hold that temperature range.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you're working in carbon steels and you're doing 820 degrees, you want that PID controller to learn that that's the temperature you normally use, and it works well in that range. But below that range for tempering at like 160, 170, it's horrible. It still swings up and down 5-10 degrees or something. So that's the reason why I have the second one that I use for tempering. And if you set that controller for 170 degrees and that's the temperature you always use, it works well.
Did you ever try, do you have by any chance one of those very thin, those wire K temperature?
K coupling.
Yeah, K coupler. But those, you know what I mean? Those very thin ones. Because what I'm thinking is with those thin ones, you can measure temperature differences very quickly. Do you maybe have that? Because you could...
I use the Type S coupler. It's in a ceramic tube.
Yeah, that's too inert, or like temperature inertia, or how do you say it?
Yep. But I turn
slow.
I turn my tempering oven on the same time. So I turn on my heat treating oven and it heats up for about an hour, and my tempering oven runs probably by the time I'm ready to temper for about an hour and a half. So oven is already
I don't doubt that. I think, and your PID will show the constant temperature, I'm sure. But I wonder if you put a third-party thermocouple in, a very thin one, if it will register any peaks or lows. Because it can react way quicker. I would be curious. I mean, if that's not the case, you shouldn't have any problems. Then it should be fine, because then you're just at ambient temperature all the time. Then you don't need convection, I think. And if the thin thermocouple doesn't react and show any peaks, then it will be no problem. But usually with those, as you said, usually they are aiming for 830 or even hotter, and then they are very confused, only being on 160, 180 or whatever degrees.
No, at the beginning there was a Type K thermocouple in there, and then I went through like 2 or 3 thermocouples and started with the Type S. And I think maybe you're right. I think the Type S is better for the higher temperature than the Type K would be at a lower temperature.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing to try out. I mean, they're inexpensive. I can easily change it out and test your theory.
Yeah, and you can get them in different sizes. So Type K doesn't
different
always.
Lengths
And I have one cheap China one, but it's sufficient because I have several and they all show the same temperature. Then I know, okay, they must be accurate. They have one where only very thin wires are soldered together or welded together.
Yeah, so only the tip takes the measurement, you mean, right? You can almost see it at the tip that it's two very thin wires.
Yeah, but it's not a solid thing. It's really just the wires. And that one is so thin that it will react quickly, I'm thinking.
Okay.
Yeah, to changes.
Yeah,
But
makes sense.
you can buy them for little money. It's not expensive at all. And the reader as well, the digital reader for the K thermocouples. I have a few laying around in the shop because they're so cheap, and I'm always checking my tempering ovens.
Especially at tempering temperatures, you can get one for very cheap.
Yeah.
They get expensive once you get up to the 800 degree range, 900.
Yeah. I mean, the China ones work, but they're cheap as fuck.
But instead of getting a second heat treating oven, I'd get that's how we do it. We use a Laboraofen, a lab kiln.
Yeah.
Because they're super accurate. There's no radiation heat because you can get them with ventilation.
How much did you get it, or how much did you pay for it?
We have two. I paid for mine stainless steel casing. I think I paid €100.
How do you do that? Where are you finding your machines?
I found. No, look. Here's the thing. I got lucky there. First, I bought it during Corona, so there was it was hard to sell stuff during the pandemic online because people had to go there and pick it up, and we as self-employed
don't
people,
give a fuck.
You were essential workers, so you got to go out.
Yeah, but we were allowed to drive around, right?
Yeah.
So I drove to Germany. I got all the permits because back then you had to fill out forms to get a permission.
I forgot that.
Remember, right? So I drove to Germany. It was a drive, I think, an hour or something. And it was brand new. It was old because back then in the 80s or something, every pharmacy in Germany, I think it's called Pharmacy Apotheke, right?
Yeah.
Every pharmacy had to have one of these ovens
to sterilize their products and needles and all
whether or not they needed it. It was mandatory for German pharmacy to buy one of these ovens. And a pharmacy right across the border closed. The lady retired and she sold all her stuff. And she just wanted to get rid of the oven, and it was brand new. She never used it because she told. I asked her, "This machine or this oven looks brand new. What did you do with it?" And she said nothing. I had to buy it just to get the permission to open a pharmacy. So we got lucky.
Not only did they have to buy it, they had to be inspected like yearly. They had to be
nice.
Yeah. It's a German machine. It's a MacLeod Laboraofen, which new costs I don't know how much, but shitload of money.
I mean, generally speaking, either you two guys are just rich as fuck, or you're very lucky seeing your shop.
No, we are very patient.
That's right.
So I've been looking for this Laboraofen for years. I used to use the old glass fusing oven PAD control of my girlfriend, which was also super accurate. But then I bought this Laboraofen because it was a steal for €100. And Andy bought a very similar oven, I think for 150 degrees, 150 euros, because they used it to warm up food.
Lunch, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, Leberkäse. It was a Leberkäse.
Laboraofen. I mean, the Leberkäse can't cycle in temperature. You know, you have to take that very seriously.
No, but they used it to heat up lunch, so they couldn't sell it as a Laboraofen because it was used to heat up food. So they had to sell it for very little money. So that's why we have two MacLeod Laboraofen.
I have been looking for some time as well before I got the restaurant oven, but I wasn't able to find any device below €1,000 used. And I mean, new, those things are €3,000
crazy expensive.
Upwards.
Upwards, yeah.
It's really, really a lot. So you guys are very lucky.
Now, patience is the key. You gotta.
Patience is the key.
Keep looking. The deal will come.
I'm not known to be patient, so that's a problem.
No, but they are super accurate. That's why we use them, right? So we also use them for stabilizing wood and drying wood and stuff because they're so
for sure
accurate.
they're perfect. Yeah.
And MacLeod, I mean, I watched a couple of MacLeod YouTube videos, and the guy from MacLeod said in this YouTube video, if we say 104 degrees, we mean 104 degrees. So they're pretty serious about their accuracy.
Nice.
Very German.
Perfect.
So Albert, I have to question one of your statements. You said you had 2 ovens. You have 3. Didn't you just buy a big one to so you could weld up to repair the power hammer?
For heat treatment, we have 4. We have an even heat long blade oven. Then we have an even heat, a top loader for grain refinement and annealing of Damascus. Then we have an FCO for hardening blades, so the FCO 180L with it's just, I think, 35 centimeters depth. And then we have a massive ceramic.
It's like the size of a commercial oven.
I'm hard as a rock right now.
You can put a person in there. We call it our crematorium because it's so large. Because we had to weld our RAM, and we had to heat up.
That was an interesting story, by the way.
Yeah, but that was so much work.
Yeah, I imagine.
It was almost, I think, 6.5 hours of welding. And for that, we bought this big ceramic kiln, which can also do, I think, 1,300 degrees Celsius. So you can, in theory, harden blades.
But it's electrical, or is it gas? Okay.
It's electric.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it draws power with no, I mean, I think it has 20 kilowatts.
Yeah, right. Perfect.
Yeah, you can see your power meter running in circles if you turn that one on. Yeah, but we only used it for one repair.
Yeah, he had an extension cord running out to the power lines outside of his house there. To run that thing. I mean, who has a circuit breaker like that in the house?
Yeah. But I mean, you guys deserve it because you seem to be very dedicated. I'll give you that.
Yeah, but it's not just dedication. We got pretty lucky with most of our machines and tools. There's I'm very modest because there's so much luck involved with this. So
yeah,
we're dedicated. We're patient, but we also got lucky. And that's, I think, patience pays off. I mean, if you have, you can set up an alert on Willhaben and eBay Kleinanzeigen, and then you get a notification if there's something on there you're interested in. And then you just have to send an email and be the first one or among the first ones.
Yeah, I do that for certain things, but it never paid off somehow. Someone is always quicker. I'm just...
Yeah.
I mean, Albert, guys.
I think Albert's location is like a huge plus. The way he has his workshop, he's got so many people in the same building that do cars or 3D printing, and everybody knows somebody, and a lot of networking, and it's like a great place.
Yeah, it's like an industrial area.
Get stuff done. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an industrial. I mean, it's an industrial building in an industrial area, so we can make noise 7 days a week.
Yeah. That's a lot of luxury, I think.
Yeah, but it's the same with you. You're also in an industrial
I know,
area, right?
But I am always hearing other guys how they have to take care of their neighbors, and I don't even know my neighbors. I don't care.
That's the way to keep it. You don't need to know the neighbors because...
No, I mean, that was... I know them, but it's just... I couldn't care, even if I wanted. It's a workplace. So... I had... You know, what's funny? That's a funny story. I had a complaint when I moved in. So, right across the street, it's about 10 meters from my shop door. There is a different building. And in there was a guy in the industrial area... who was having aquariums and aquarium supplies, but also aquariums with fishes in it. And I mean, my power hammer is small compared to your guys's. It's a 40 kilogram ram, and the foundation is just on the floor, but it's still 900 kilograms foundation, and then it's an industrial floor, and he is not in the same building. So I think there are a lot of safeguards in between. But still, he was complaining at the beginning that his fish are scared, kind of, and the water vibrates when I'm forging. Yeah. And I was friendly, but I was telling him, I'm very sorry about this, but what are you doing in the industrial area with your aquariums? I was friendly, but I was very straight up, because I can't understand it. I still, to this day, I mean, he moved out, not because of me, but he had other problems, I guess. But I thought.
But did he have his business there, or did he live
his
there?
Business. It's in the industrial area. I mean, in Austria, you're not allowed to live in the industrial area, anyways. But I think he lived there actually. Okay. But that's another. He was quite a confused guy in many ways. But just the balls to go over and complain in the industrial area about someone working there, because you have aquariums there, it's kind of a ballsy move, I think.
It is. Imagine some guy walking over to the first and complaining about the first making noise. Yeah.
How?
Yeah, but do you think it was true that he could see the water vibrate?
I mean, I know in some areas when there is gravel ground, then as far as I know, the vibrations can travel very far, and I can feel the ground moving in that area when there is construction happening hundreds of meters away within the industrial area, when they put those metal bars in the air to stabilize the construction area, to have the foundation. You know, the rams, they ram into the earth. I can feel those in my shop hundreds of meters away. So I could imagine that it's true. I don't think he made it up. I don't think he would have had a reason either.
I don't know that you can see the water moving, but you definitely see a reaction from the fish. I mean, they can feel that for sure.
Yeah.
It's a very stressful thing, I guess, when power hammer's banging away.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
How does what do you have as a foundation for your power hammer?
So,
because it's above ground, right? So you have an above ground foundation.
So it's at first it was only concrete. I had an Instagram story because I bursted the first foundation because I was stupid. I had the bolts cast into the concrete, and I was thinking, well, the concrete is solid, and I didn't cast the bolts in the concrete with something that has a lot of surface area, but only with a nut that I secured by punching it with a hammer. So all the force, it was I was thinking the wrong way. All the force concentrated on a rather small area within the concrete, so it just burst the first foundation up. It was enforced concrete, so it didn't fall apart, and the screws were still holding up, but there was a big crack, and it wasn't getting better either. And then I had from some company, I had them weld up a container that was open on the bottom, and then I made the bolts exchangeable, so I put pipes in for the bolts, and then I cast it out with concrete, and that's what I'm having now. It's 100 kilograms. It's decoupled from the floor with some special foam. It's made for things like that, industrial use. And for that weight, so I had contact with the company and told them what I'm going to do, and they advised me to use this, so it's decoupled from the floor. And within my shop even, I don't have problems with the vibration, because at the beginning, at the very first, I had a wood foundation just when I moved in, because I had to start working quickly, and then things were falling out of the shelves, you know. But with the concrete foundations and decoupling, I didn't have any problems. But the hammer moves, so it moves a little. I mean, I don't bother, but Huber was irritated by it, He wasn't used to it, but Huber is not as skilled as I am, so.
So the hammer was moving in it, and how big is your hammer?
I mean, he wasn't moving around the shop,
right?
but he was just a slight motion back and forth, just wobbling, or how do you say it?
I mean, that could have been Red Bull because he drinks a lot of Red Bull.
No, he does.
Maybe he was moving.
Yeah, he's moving as well. That's for sure.
Did you have to put in the concrete floor, or did your landlord?
No, that's very nice with those buildings that I'm renting. It's an industrial floor, and it's including the general Betriebsanlagengenehmigung. I don't know in English. It's the general that you can have a company there. The general and yeah, from the hall itself, it's isolated very good. The heating functions very well, so I'm very happy with that. But rent is high. Rent is very high.
How much square meters do you have in shop? How much are you renting?
I think the shop where I'm working in, it's an office area, and the shop itself, I think overall it's 75, and just the shop is 65 square meters. So it's not very big.
Yeah, but that's so 75. Okay, 75
yeah,
in
75
total.
in total.
Yeah,
Exactly.
60.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, shop area is only 65. But I mean, it's sufficient for me. I'm just a one-man show, and yeah.
Yeah, sure. Did you buy the hammer new, or did you buy it used?
Yeah, that was a new hammer, and I mean, I bought it right in 2019 from a Turkish company directly. I think they are closed now because I can't reach them. I would have wanted to buy some dies, but the website seems to be down and I can't reach them anymore. But the hammer, including shipping, was I think 7,400 euros, and it's a new device. I'm very I thought so too, and also it's because I was thinking about buying an Anyang hammer, but I'm not convinced of the construction, because when you look at all the old Besche hammers they are leaning on from the design, they have the anvil part of the power hammer decoupled from the rest of the construction.
Yeah, two-piece construction.
And then the Anyang hammer is a cast iron construction, and still it's connected. So my guess would be over the years, over the decades, that there will develop cracks. I can't imagine how they hold up. Besche did that for a reason. They kept decoupled that for a reason, I'm thinking. But I'm not an expert. I just wasn't very amazed about the construction of the Anyangs.
Yeah. I mean, that you can get two-piece Anyang hammers as well, brand new. They built them too. They're not only building one-piece hammers. But there's a reason for two-piece hammers. One reason is that what you said, that it's this machine is a bit more stable and robust. And the other reason is that you get more force into the workpiece, because the old Besche anvils, they have so much mass. I mean, they weigh
more than the machine, right?
Yeah, almost. Yeah. I mean, the anvil of our 100 kilo Besche, I think it weighs 2.5 tons or 3 tons, something like that. Only the anvil. So the heavier the anvil, I mean, it's the same with forging by hand. The heavier the anvil, the more force you get into the workpiece when you're hammering.
Yeah,
but
steel.
That's the reason for this two-piece constructions, or one reason for.
And you think it's two-piece to hammers. Be able to move it easier? Because they still could make it as heavy, but one piece, I'm thinking.
No, no, but if the anvil is connected to the hammer, then the force goes into the anvil and back in the hammer, so you lose force, right? See what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, when it's not decoupled, it's the whole thing is vibrating. I mean, even with my hammer, it's decoupled. It's just sliding, or not sliding. It's just sitting in.
Okay. You mean now I see what I mean. Not really a two-piece. So a two-piece construction, but where the anvil is somehow connected to the hammer standard, so to the actual hammer itself, right? So but Bechet did this also. There's our 150 kilo Bechet, is strictly speaking a two-piece construction with the anvil mounted to the frame, to the hammer frame.
I always thought they made it two-piece to have those very high shock forces, those first shock forces, not go into the cast construction of the hammer itself. So to have that go directly into the foundation. And I always just assumed it was to prevent cracks, because cast iron is very prone to cracking. But
that's one reason. But the other reason is that you get more force into the workpiece.
It makes sense. The foundation of your 100 kilogram hammer, only the anvil part, is heavier than my hammer and foundation overall.
Yes.
So my foundation and hammer has 1.7 tons, and your anvil alone of the 100 kilogram hammer is heavier than that. So that's quite.
Yeah, but even with our small Bechet, I mean, Bechet made super heavy machines, which are a nightmare to transport. Even with the small one, the 30 kilo Bechet, we have the anvil alone is almost, I think it's a ton or something. And the ram weight is 30 kilos. So the actual hammer frame or Hammerständer in German is not that heavy. And if it was a one-piece construction, you would have to lift with the 100 kilo Bechet. You would have a forklift that lifts 7 tons.
Yeah, of course.
So that's a nightmare.
On that note, can we bash Martin Huber a little? Do you watch his? Okay.
Go ahead.
Perfect. Do you watch his YouTube
Because
videos?
I think his is a one piece, right?
No. But it's worse. He complained about my hammer wobbling, but when you watch at his recent YouTube videos, his bottom die is moving when he forges, and it wasn't at the beginning, because I was always thinking, wow, his workpieces, they just stay stable because his anvil part of the power hammer doesn't move at all, and in the recent videos it just moves all over the place, and it makes me crazy. So I just wanted to shit on Martin Huber a little, if that's okay.
but he has new dies, doesn't he? Because he's but then he has to make new keys, I guess, or shim them.
Yeah, they look funky as well. The new ones. He has.
But if you have, I mean, he has a heavy hammer. I think it's a 100 kilo.
Yeah, and it's one. He told me it's one of those fast-moving ones, and you can tell in the videos. It's bam, 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 bam. It's super fast.
It does move quick.
But then you have to the keys they have to fit pretty accurately, because if they don't fit, the bottom die or the top die, whatever, it just keeps moving.
I mean, I have that problem as well, and it annoys me a little. I was thinking about making some kind of safety, or securing it somehow, but then I was thinking, no matter what I do, due to the vibration and the peak forces, it will wear out. No matter what I do, if I set a pin or anything, it will wear out, and maybe
it's gonna wear out, and it's gonna come loose.
Or worse, the die might get stuck somehow. I mean, did you guys see what Hoffman had to do recently? He immersed his top die in liquid nitrogen, because it seems like the wedge got stuck so firmly that he had to immerse the whole die in liquid nitrogen, and then he got it loose with the sledgehammer. But
but that's what we had to do as well. We had to, and not liquid nitrogen. We used dry ice.
Very cold. Yeah.
We had to use dry ice because we couldn't get the top die.
I mean, it's very smart. I was always, since I am a truck mechanic, I'm always thinking about heat. As soon as something doesn't come loose, I'm going straight to heat in my mind. But that would be a bad idea with all the gaskets and all on the power hammer. So that would be pretty stupid, I guess. But
the dry ice worked fine. I mean, we had to leave it in because there's so much thermal mass, so we had to leave it in there in the dry ice container for, I don't know, 2-3 hours. But then we were able to get the key out.
Yeah, I mean, at least it worked. It's nice. Smart solution.
Yeah. But the power hammer you have is similar to the Reiter hammer, right?
Yeah, I would say.
Are the dice compatible? Because you said you need new dice, right? So
I don't think so. I think I talked to someone recently. I forgot to who I talked. I think maybe Hangler, but because
you have the same. You have the same hammer as Hangler, right?
No, it's a different. It's similar in size, but it's a different model. It's a Turkish company. Reiter is German also, and they don't exist anymore either, as far as I know. The company.
They don't, but Angele still. That's why I'm asking. Angele still sells Reiter dice.
Yeah.
So if you need someone, if they're compatible, you could buy them from Angele.
I might look into that. I might have to look into that.
And if not, you can ask us because we have to make 2 new dice.
I guess you heat them on your own with that big oven.
We do actually. Yeah, we had to. I mean. That's not what we chose, but that's just what happened because we tried to buy these dice, but we couldn't find the company who makes them for us. So we had to figure out a way to do it ourselves. That we had to make new dice for our Italian power hammer, so the nasal type, and now we have to make new dice for a Reiter.
Do you? How do you hold the dice? I mean, do you forge special tongues for them, or
you mean when heat treating?
Yeah.
We drill a hole through the die, which we need anyway. Because if we want to attach
your shoes.
Exactly. And then we put a wire through the die, and then we take it out with a steel bar.
Okay, smart.
With the tongue, it'd be hard.
That must be
because they're heavy. No, that's not fun. That's horrible. There's so much heat.
But you know what would be fun if you're sliding that steel bar in and the die slides into your direction on the steel bar towards your hands.
then I'm gonna drop the steel bar.
Do you have? I mean, you need a big quenching container as well, right?
Yeah.
For the mass.
Yeah.
Okay. How much do you expect to? How much oil do you expect to need?
No, we already did that. Yeah, we did this with the dice for our Italian power hammer, and we used like a big barrel.
Okay.
And we quenched in a big barrel.
Okay.
And that worked.
Like the 60-liter ones, or
no, bigger. 100. Yeah. I mean, nice. I don't know how many liters.
I think the big ones are 100, but I'm not sure. Yeah. Nice.
But if you open the oven and there's 15 kilo dice in there, there's so much heat radiating from it. I mean, you start even your leather and everything you wear, it starts just smoking because there's the top layer of your clothes they're just burn away, or not burn away. That no one's burning, but there's so much heat that they.
I like
they go up and smoke.
Please let someone make a video of that. Please.
Hey, people were watching when we were doing this, and they thought we were completely
insane.
Crazy. Yeah. Rightly so.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that happens is all the moisture that's in any of your clothes or in your gloves burns off, and that's where you get the heat in your hands and everything.
I'm having a picture of those old videos from the first nuclear explosions.
Yeah. So in comparison, Albert, if you were to buy a set of dies, what would a set of new dies cost compared to the ones you made?
We bought a new set. we bought a new set of dice for the Bernstoffer back then, because we had made it Angeles, and we paid, I think, 1,500 for 2 dice.
Yeah, that's
Heat treated and everything. But we had to send them the CAD, so the CAD files, so the construction files. And they heat treated them, and they actually broke. So the bottom die broke. So
holy shit!
We told them that we think it's a heat treatment failure or mistake because you could see it from the grain structure, and they said no.
Of course,
it was your fault. I mean, we've been using it for a year before it broke, so it was okay, and we sold the hammer anyway.
But it's not okay, but yeah.
Yeah, but what are you gonna do? I mean, the warranty, there is no warranty on these anymore after 1 year, and they say it's your fault, and you say no, it's your fault.
No, I get it, but
so I'm not. And the hammer, we already had plans to sell the hammer, so we thought, well.
In which operation did it break?
When we disassembled the machine, so we took out the dies and we disassembled the machine because we sold it. And then it broke. Yeah. We wanted to sell it because we already bought our new hammer.
Yeah.
And if you do it yourself, it's of course way cheaper.
Yeah, well, first you need the right heat treating ovens and all the machines and everything together.
Yeah. It's not counting on these machines and the mill and the work and the hours you spend.
I mean, my oven is big enough. I didn't ever think about the idea with the wires and the steel rod because that's pretty smart. I was always thinking in terms of tongues, and that gets super quick, super difficult quickly because even if you forge big tongues, those dies are heavy, like 10 kilograms or something. I don't know. I would estimate 8 kilograms and with tongues that's tricky. I mean, and then the oil amount worried me as well because I don't really want to buy 100-liter oil just for that and have them lay around. I don't ever need that. But yeah.
And a top loader heat treatment oven is also better than a front loader because you then can open up the whole thing and you can put them out easier.
Yeah.
But if you do it yourself, it's I don't know, 250 euros maybe or 300 for the steel.
And like a day's work? Or?
No, way more.
More? Machining and everything.
You have to machine the I think it's called dovetail.
Yeah.
And they have to be super accurate because if they're not accurate, then the keys won't fit. Then you have to file and adjust the keys.
And you need a mill big enough to be able to mill something like that.
You need a big mill.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I think for 99% of the people out there, they're not making their own dies because it's...
No, buying is... that's what that's what we also wanted to do. We wanted to buy the dies, but we couldn't find any shop who makes them for us. So that's why we had to do it ourselves.
Okay.
And now we have to... now we've done or made, I think, 4 dies. And we're going to make 2 more.
And if anybody else out there that's listening needs dies, you guys will make them for them or what?
Yeah, but then we have to have pretty accurate measurements of the angles.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Now Andy's gonna kill me. But it's hard to find a shop who makes them for you.
I mean, I'm sure guys are taking notes right now. I have your name on my list.
On how to do it or who to ask?
Who to ask, of course. We knife makers are lazy as fuck.
I mean, not just normal dies, but you can get some ladder pattern dies, raindrop, all kinds of special things.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Don't tell Andy. He's not going to listen to the podcast, so... But don't tell him.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think it's turned into like episode 2 of the Power Hammer discussion, but I like it. It's good. I think very informative. I hope some of the listeners can take some enjoyment in our discussion here.
But what's wrong with your dice, Ben? Why do you need new ones?
No,
because they come loose, or
no. I mean the half round dice just have some wear, and I condition them every now and then, and we're talking, half a millimeter maybe that I'm taking off, but it's 5 years old, and I think I conditioned them 3 times already, just because I'm a freak, because I see other people working with way worse dice, so I think I'm overdoing it. But at some point, the height of the dice will lower to an amount where the RAM could run into problems, and I have that measurement where it's too much, so I know where I have to stop. But I'm just thinking it's just a matter of time when I will need new dice. So that's just why I'm already kind of looking and seeing what I can do, because I know that they are crazy expensive, and I think it's surely you guys, and if I would make it on my own, since we are not used to that work, it takes us a lot of time. But I'm thinking a company that makes power hammers that is specialized in that, and has all the routes on the maybe CNC mill, or even with manual milling, all the routes figured out. I think to them, to be honest, I can't quite understand the price. Especially in context of my power hammer. I mean, the whole machine costs 7,500, and then I'm spending 1,000 just for a pair of dice. It just doesn't match up in any relation.
But only if you have them custom made. If you buy the replacement dice, they're like 300 or 400 euros.
From that company, for sure. Yeah. But since the company closed,
if they still make them,
yeah. I mean, I will check with the Reiter dice. Someone told me already, and I forgot about it. But I will check for measurements if they have some online, or otherwise I'll write them and bother them, get on their nerves. But I don't need anything custom, really. If they fit, I'm happy.
Yeah, sure. What kind of dice do you have on your hammer? Is it like combi dice with a drawing die in the flat, or is it just drawing dice?
Yeah, half round drawing dice, and then I have flat ones. And back then I also ordered some who are very flat spherical. I mean, if you would, it's a radius similar to a ball of 1 meter or something. It's very flat, but both are have a spherical surface. I never use those because they move material crazy quickly, and it's hard to control in terms of blade forging, because they're just too aggressive in that sense. But the half round I use a lot. The half round is what I mainly forge with, and the flat dies I only use for the tang forging, so setting the tang off and forging the tang out. And then I have my shoes for super aggressive half round dies, where I make the wave pattern, and the denti pattern. I also have shoes for that, for the flat dies. So flat dies I use a lot as well.
But do you exchange the dice then? Do you drive out the key and put a new one in? Okay.
Yeah.
What is it? What is a shoe? Is that like something that you slide over the standard dice?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
It slides over the flat dice, and then you can. The shoe itself is made from mild steel in my case, and then you can weld on some steel that you can harden, and use that as the.
So the shoe you made yourself. The shoe is something that you can make to slide over your standard die.
That's quite easy. I mean, you only have to watch out for to space it out. So I usually, I don't know what I took, but a few pieces of paper, just very slightly oversized. But when you weld it up, the shoe will shrink a little. Yeah. And if you don't space it out at all, then you're having a new die, because that thing stays on there. Space it out a little, and then you're more flexible, because you can weld stuff on that end.
But that's smart, because then you can make it work with one hammer. If you exchange the dice, you're very flexible then.
And I mean, I would even consider having less aggressive half round dice for the flat shoes, but the problem with the shoes is, especially when you have a small power hammer, it loses force because the stroke just isn't as long anymore. Yeah. But other than that, I mean, if you have an oversized hammer, I mean, what is oversized, right? But for blade forging itself, except for Damascus, something like Huber or you have with 100 kilograms is oversized for blade forging. But if you then have a shoe, it doesn't matter because the hammer has enough power anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in my case, it matters. So I can't really use the flat dice all the time. But I'm not enjoying the die changing at all. It works, but
yeah, that would have been my next question.
yeah. No, I mean, it works way better since it's a new power hammer. You know, with old power hammers or spring hammers, even in my old job where I worked as a blacksmith, the bottom, the die fixture was cast iron. So those wedges, when they held up, they really they crawled into that wrought iron cast iron. It was crazy. They were barely to get out. And now the both parts, the die is hardened anyways, and the other part is made from mild steel, and that works way better. It has way or much less wiggle room and doesn't friction weld as quickly.
How much room do you have left in your RAM before you need new dice?
I've measured it out. I don't know, up like 17 millimeters or something. It's a lot. It's not like nuances. It's quite a lot. I'm safe for a long time, but I have a spleen with redundancy, I guess.
Yeah,
I always have to have things double and triple.
But you have to take care because if I mean, you might break the hammer if the RAM has if there's too much room.
Yeah, totally.
Below the hammer.
It definitely would destroy it. I can imagine easily how it would. I don't want to try.
No, don't do that because then you have to make a new hammer. But is there an indication on your RAM? There's a line somewhere indicating how much.
No, I didn't see a line, but I measured it by lowering it, just letting it lower itself slowly, and then I lifted it up with a leverage again. It's
okay.
Yeah, or by hand. I don't know. I think with a leverage, and then spaced it out again. But I just measured it where how much space I'm having, how much.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The power hammer itself says a measurement as well, I think, but that's on the super safe side. So, but even to that, I think I have a lot of wiggle room still.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long have you been forging on this hammer now?
Since 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's still this first sets of dice, right?
Yeah, first sets of dice, and yeah, super happy with the construction overall. Never a screw came loose, nothing like that. And yeah, the construction is interesting as well because the only cast iron parts are the actuator piston casing and the ram casing. Other than that, it's fabricated steel frame. And I mean, that's what I said with the Anyang. I just think in terms of construction and repair, if there ever develops a crack or something like that, I can easily weld it. It's just, I mean, I don't expect it to happen, but you know, my mind was just at ease when I knew less materials to catastrophically fail potentially.
Yeah, if something fails with cast iron, you're screwed.
Exactly, that's the thing. I mean, and as little as cast iron as possible, I was thinking the better. But yeah, in terms of base shit, those machines worked since 100 years, so
it comes at a price. I mean, the heavier the hammer, the more force you have, but the more difficult they are to fix if there's a crack in them.
Yeah.
And the Reiter type hammers are easier to maintain, but do not develop as much force.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, it's a trade-off, right?
I mean, they are very little. I think the Reiter Hangler are 25 kilograms or something. They are even smaller than mine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they are. I forged on them. That's okay for bladesmithing as well. But Damascus, I think, is almost at hand hammer level. I mean, still way above, but it's
if you can swing a 30 kilo hand hammer,
no,
then it's about the same.
I'm used to it.
Yeah, but it's interesting. Yeah, just tell us if you need new dice, and then we'll talk. Let us know.
I'll go directly to Andy then.
Tell him Albert said $400 for dice.
Yeah, Albert told me to.
No, thanks.
And he also said I'm getting them for free.
Yeah, exactly. That's my approach always.
Albert promised. Yeah.
No, but thanks for the
sure.
You know what I mean. I don't know
Yeah.
the word right now. Offer. So
yeah.
So completely in the other direction, Kamon, when you are grinding hidden tang knives, how are you holding on to the tang of your knives? Do you have a pretty standard handle construction with your I don't know what you call them, with the bolsters, and do you hold on to them with a vice grip, or do you have some kind of a tool that you've made yourself, or?
During grinding,
yes,
I have the blades in my hand, I have a work rest, and the blade sits on the work rest, so the work rest bears all the forces from the belt itself. But I'm just with my hands pressing it on the belt, or did you mean something else?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not holding the blade.
You're not holding on to the tang, or you don't need that because you're using a work rest.
No, tang. I don't hold on to the tang. I wrap my hands around the platen, and I'm with my forefingers. I'm on the back of the belt, so to say, on the platen, and with my thumbs, I'm pressing the blade against the belt, and I only touch the tang when I take the blade away. But during grinding itself, I don't hold the blade on the tang. Is that a thing you do normally?
Yeah, with a narrower grinder you do, but because you have a very wide grinder, right? You have
and the work rest is wide as well, so the blade can't fall off to the left or right.
Yeah, but with the 50 mil grinder, it's hard to press it onto the backplaten.
Yeah, see, I never stop learning what normal people do.
Because you're so spoiled with your wide grinder. What's the belt width of your grinder?
120 millimeters, and length is 3,350 millimeters. So 3 meters and a little bit.
That's quite a grinder.
Yeah, 120 millimeters.
So that's the machine I enjoy most in my shop, and I wouldn't exchange it for anything. Everything else, even the power hammer, can go before that machine. I can forge by hand, but I can't grind blades like normal knife makers do, because I would overheat every edge. I'm very confident in my stupidity.
And the 3,000 millimeter belts, they also, you do water cooled grinding, right? As far as I know.
Yeah.
But even if you didn't, the longer belts run cooler.
Yeah, they have. I calculated the surface area, so they have about, if I'm remembering correctly, with compared to the 2,000 times 50 millimeter belts, they have 4 times the surface area or more. A little. So they are holding up similarly. So similarly to you using 4 belts, for example, or due to the surface area.
Yeah, where do you find your belts?
I'm buying them from VSM directly.
They special make them to that size, or is that some kind of a standard size?
No, they special make them, and they have no problems as long as you buy 20 pieces of every quality, and 20 pieces of every quality and grit. But that's the same essentially.
You need that anyway.
And you have to buy a certain amount per year. But I mean, yeah, people like Hangler with his courses, or like you guys, Messerschmitt Salzburg. I'm sure you buy way more belts, also in monetary terms than I do, because I think knife making courses, I think they, what I've seen, they are very, very belt intensive.
They are, yeah.
No, but VSM, directly, and that works out.
What kind of belts are you using then?
I've used the ones with the bright red coating before. It's the XK 800 something. I think something with something like that series.
Okay.
And he told me that the XK 760 series is the same grid, so it's also ceramic grid, but without the bright red coating, and the coating is only there for
it's only a paint.
Cooling effect. No, it's a paint, but it has a cooling effect,
okay.
And I notice it. It's true. It has some effect, but since I'm water cooling anyways, I don't need to spend the extra money for it, and I'm buying the cheaper belts, and they have some advantages for me because since the coating is missing, they are not clogging up as fast. So the grid itself is the same, but what I noticed is sometimes they can clog up, and with shit. And with the other belts, they don't do this as much. But I wouldn't recommend them if you're not water cooling during grinding, because there is a difference. The cooling surface works. What I find astonishing. I wouldn't have expected that, but maybe it's some kind of like, what are candles made of? Some kind of
wax.
Yeah, wax. Yeah, wax. That
helps it slip,
produces a
slide
steam
a
layer. Yeah, a slide, or that just changes its like oil, or I don't know.
But what's the colors? What's the color of your belts?
It's more
now?
brown. It's not
brown.
not current brown. It's more like a dark red, wine red. Yeah, Burgund red or something like that. It's they don't look as fancy.
But they're cheaper, right?
Yeah, they are cheaper because the coating is missing.
Considerably cheaper, or
not that much. I pay. I think I pay for those big belts. I pay 18 euros, and I think the other ones would be 22 or something. It's not.
Okay.
It's not really in 40 grid. Those are the more expensive ones. As soon as you move up in the grids, it gets cheaper. But
so you pay like 18, 19 euros per belt per grid, and then have a specific amount that you have to order in order for them to make that size for you.
Yeah, it's 20 pieces, but I'm usually buying end of the year when I'm having some money to spend.
With the tax before taxes coming.
And then it works out. I mean, those belts don't go bad anyway, so I treat it similar to steel. I can't have enough of it.
How often do you have to buy belts? Do you buy it only once a year? Or?
Yeah, most of the time. I mean, I have some friends who buy through me. Then sometimes I buy in between the year, but for me, it's most of the time only one time a year. And from last year, I bought for something like 3,000 euros, and I still had some qualities left, some grids and qualities left. So yeah, next year I think I'm not buying a lot, or I mean end of this year. For
even with your water cooled grinder, you have another advantage because you can increase the pressure, and this breaks the corn better, ceramic.
Yeah, a little, but it's still I still really go into with a hardened piece of steel and break the corn up one or two times. And even then, when I take the belt off and throw it away, it's very sharp. So back when I was a blacksmith in the smithy, only grinding mild steel, I was using those Corunt belts until the fabric showed, And now those ceramic belts, so a higher quality, and I'm using them, and to the touch they are still sharp. So every smithy or every construction company would jerk off to those belts. And I'm exchanging them because I'm noticing how much more time I take grinding, and my time still is more expensive than that fucking belt, so it goes out. And what I'm doing, I'm lucky I don't have to throw them away, but some guy just takes them for free. I'm happy they are gone because it's a lot of garbage. I don't have to get rid of them. And he's happy that he gets them. And I say I'm lucky in that sense that it's a big coincidence that he can use that size of belt. Yeah. He has a grinder that is very flexible, and so he gets them. I don't mind. But I am exchanging. I could use them longer. That's what I'm saying. But it just doesn't pay off.
Yeah.
It works, and it works well, but it's so much more time consuming. And I mean, you have to imagine, I use, for one batch of those 40 grit belts, I use 2 to 3 of those 40 grit belts. So that's not a lot, I'm thinking. That's 60 euros on a 20 knives batch of knife.
Yeah.
20 knives batch. So I think, but I mean, to me, those 60 euros are well spent.
At some point, the precision of your grinding changes drastically. I mean, that's when, for me anyway, you can tell. Yeah. You just got to get rid of you just got to get rid of the belt. It's no matter what it looks like. If you can tell that your grinds are getting a little wonky, it's time to change the belt. No matter what it looks like or feels like. For me, anyway.
Yeah. I noticed that as well. I mean, I can apply super high pressure, but then, as you said, the grind isn't as precise as if you can take your time and use less pressure.
Yeah.
So that's a problem as well.
And it's heartbreaking. I mean, I think every knife maker has this huge pile of belts that they don't want to throw away. You might be able to use it for a handle. You might be able to use it for something, but at some point you have so many of them that you're never going to use them in your whole lifetime.
Dahlman had a very nice, Robin Dahlman, the Swedish knife maker. I don't know if you know him, but he had a very nice post some time ago, or a long time ago, and he said he started the post with the caption saying, belts are free, right? And then he said, no, they aren't, but you should treat them as if they were.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the spirit. So you should, if they don't work anymore, throw them out because it doesn't pay off.
As soon as the grind lines start getting crazy, or you like everybody has one side that they grind better on than the other. But if you start chasing grinds, take a break or put it away and try it again tomorrow. But most of the time, if you put a fresh belt on there, it's like a whole different game. It's crazy.
Yeah. So we broke the record for the longest episode, I'm thinking.
Yeah, Albert's got some editing to do.
No one's surprised.
Like some old ladies chatting away.
Yeah. If you put 3 Austrians on a podcast,
no one's listening.
But you still had a 3.5 hour episode with Morocco, so we still got some time.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
Yeah.
Although he's known for that kind of length.
Yeah.
I think he has some with around 5 hours. Isn't that true?
Really?
I think 4 hours definitely.
I haven't heard all of them because they are long, but I listened to yours 3.5 hours. I was surprised 3.5 hours.
Yeah, no, I mean, time flew by. I loved nerding off about shit. Similar to you guys.
I mean, we're a little over 3 hours if you consider that we talked for 45 minutes before we started recording.
Right, that might have been the mistake.
Yeah.
We should have recorded.
Yeah.
It probably would have been too romantic for that.
Yeah. We'll save that for the after show. No, it was a great episode. Lots of information. I'm very happy to have you as always. Hopefully you are not sick of us and want to come back again sometime.
Of course.
Albert, you alive still?
Yeah, sure.
A little bit of power hammer talk.
Yeah. No, it was fun. I didn't expect the show to go into this direction.
That's all right. It was good.
But it was a bunch of nerds talking about forging.
Yes,
that's what we're here for.
Bring the value.
Yeah, no, it was fun. Yeah.
If there's
and Ben, and if you're ever in the area, drop by.
Yeah, let me know. I'll come by too.
Nice. I've been in Salzburg with my wife before we had kids, but I think a visit with kids is due at some point. And I will make sure to bring my kids so they can mess up your shop real quick. They are two very active boys, so
yeah, but you haven't seen our shop. They can't mess it up anymore.
Yeah, okay. I mean, then they'll clean it. It's okay.
Yeah.
Bring them for cleaning. That's awesome.
Kids are fascinated with the vacuum cleaner in the shop. They'll like sucked up G10 dust and all that kind of stuff. They love it.
Yeah. Mine always drives around with the, how do you say, the manual forklift, the small one that you just pull around. He always takes that one, lifting it up, driving around.
So if there's anybody out there who doesn't know who Ben Kamon is, but at this point, I don't know what to say about that, but where can we find you, Ben?
Good question. KamonKnives.com is my website, and Kamon_knives on Instagram.
And we're all looking forward to seeing what you are making for the charity knife now that we know it's not a monolith. Yeah, that name slipped my mind for a second.
I think it will be a nice knife. I'm looking forward to finishing it and sending it to you guys.
I'm sure. After that visit I had at with Tobias Hangler and all you guys, I think my knife's trash now. I'm gonna have to make a new one, I think.
Come on. No.
All right, guys. We will talk to you then next week. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
All right, bye.